Welcome back. I'm Brandon, the HBAR Bull, once again joined by Zepsi. We both do some contract work for the HBAR Foundation, but we don't do these weekly updates in any official capacity. We're just coming to you personally to give you the latest in the Hedera ecosystem. Welcome, Zep.
How's it going, Brandon?
It's going good. We have a lot to cover this week, but as always, none of this is financial advice. Use it for entertainment or educational purposes only. So there's been some contention in the community. There's a lot of passion, and I think that's a good thing. I think a lot of things got actually cleared up this week, but I want to focus as we start here today on the strength of our retail facing applications and teams that are building out there. We talk an awful lot about the base layer, about the technology that Hedera has, about the services that have been built on top of it, whether that's the Hedera token service allowing you to issue tokens without having a smart contract, or the consensus service, the smart contract service. You can go down the line. There's a lot of things in that foundation that's been built, like the governance and all the technology, that's really impressive. But what's striking me, or what struck me this past week, was how brilliant some of the teams that we have building. And I'm not talking about the enterprise. That's certainly going to have its place with Hedera. I'm talking about these retail facing applications. There is a lot of really sharp people that know how to execute and are bringing new, innovative products to market. Of course, we talk about Galaxy. They're doing things that the crypto industry has aspired to do for a long time. Karate Combat, which we're certainly going to talk about here coming up. Even in the company that I founded with Jesse had a really unique way to tokenize. We talk about the world being tokenized, and he has this brilliant thing of using photogrammetry and other ways to capture these objects in 3D so you can use them in completely immersive environments and everything else. Now, we went through a little bit of a break there, but the app is sitting there in the Apple Store. You can go try it out right now. We just got some more funding, so we're going to be doing a lot more things there. I was blown away by veMOUTH. I try to get involved with different platforms, different things that are being built on Hedera, and I joined the council for veMOUTH. But I really didn't fully understand it. Still trying to wrap my head around it. This idea of a decentralized promotion and media platform. But this was the first week that I participated in their first product, the loudspeaker, and I really started to feel the power. Besides that, this team understands tokenomics. They really know what they're doing. I think the rest of the community is going to start to feel that as we go forward, and as those products like the loudspeaker are leveraged more. We talk about the gaming teams, and one thing, you've mentioned in the past, some of the other networks have games out there, but they feel kind of clunky. The game teams that are building on Hedera are going to bring some amazing products to market. There's only a few games that are actually out there right now that you can play, but teams like Astra, we're going to have some news about them a little bit later on. Lithos and Earthlings. Earthlings is working on a mini movie right now that I think is really going to blow people away, and it's going to be what the gameplay is actually going to look like. You can just go on down the line, but those games haven't actually come to market yet. But I think when they do hit the market, there's going to be a realization that Hedera is serious and here to play in the gaming space. The other thing is all of our infrastructure providers. I talked to Kabila this week. We're going to have a clip with them shortly. We have our wallet providers, Hashpack and Blade and Walla Wallet. These are really talented teams, and I could go down the line on all of our infrastructure providers. Even our meme coins. We have Grelf. And how many meme coins out there where the character actually interacts with people in X spaces or comes on and speaks to the community as the character? This takes a lot of work and a lot of skill. The reason why we're talking about them this week is because they're doing an HBAR weighted airdrop. Anybody who's going to support the HBAR holders out there, I'm going to highlight as much as possible. But this week, it just kind of struck me how many teams we have building in that retail facing space, and how brilliant they are, and how hardworking, how passionate they are. And I just wanted to highlight that before we really dug into it. But either way, Zep, I want to get into some of these other news stories that we have going on. And the first one, and I want to touch on this because I know that you had for a while been into Cardano, and there was a tweet that was put out by Charles Hoskinson, and he was the founder, of course, of Cardano. And he said, and I'm paraphrasing here, the networks that focus on governance are going to be around for a really long time. What were your thoughts when you saw that tweet?
For a long time, the hash graph obviously has been considered a great piece of tech and still is, right? The Hedera token service is best fit for tokenization, the consensus service for immutable data logging, which covers pretty much every industry. And then, of course, the smart contract service, which is a very, very scalable version of the EVM. But as we go forward, there's going to be a lot of ledgers that are very quick, very secure. Obviously, the ABFT credential of Hedera renders it the most secure. But for a lot of retail user participants, all they really care about is speed and other things like that, and efficiency, cost efficiency. But as we move forward, the thing that's really going to keep any ledger moving in the right direction or going out into the right industries or being led in the right way, make sure money's being spent in the right way, or that the business model is sustainable, which is absolutely crucial when VC money dries out, as I'm sure we'll see in other ecosystems. But that governance model, I think, again and again, will be considered to be the most important part of Hedera. Having 39 organizations that are laser set on making Hedera, A, profitable, but B, through that last 100 years, right? The 100-year company. And so I think what Charles is getting at here, obviously, is that Cardano also are hyper-focused on governance. You've got other teams like Polkadot that are also hyper-focused on governance. But Hedera really is unique within that field, right? Having organizations that are leading in all their fields, who have leading market knowledge or business knowledge within their own field, who can then collaborate around a network to pursue an end goal, which is longevity and in the end mass enterprise and retail adoption. And so I think again and again we'll see that this is our secret sauce, the Hedera Governing Council. And I think having seen Charles also realize or publicly realize that governance is key to any ecosystem to last the test of time, I think that is a massive, massive seal of approval for people in the Hedera ecosystem.
Well covered, Zep. Now, the next thing I'm going to get into, we're going to go international here. International for me, but it's going to be right in your backyard. Hedera joined the UK Crypto Asset Business Council. Now, this includes the likes of Archax, which we've talked a lot about in the past, Coinbase, Ripple, Uniswap, and so forth. So Hedera has joined this council. What were your thoughts on this news that just dropped yesterday?
So what I really like about the UK Crypto Asset Business Council is that they're at the very heart of UK politics. So they serve as the leading voice for the UK's crypto ecosystem through active engagement with policymakers, regulators, and legislators. And a lot of that is targeted around Westminster, Whitehall, and the regulatory bodies that govern the UK. And so to make the contrast there, so Westminster is the Houses of Parliament, where the MP sits, and then Whitehall is where the civil service sit. And the civil service are essentially the backbone of our members of parliament. They're the think tanks. They're the people that write the legislation, that get the MPs to essentially sell this regulation to their voter base. And so all of that is to say that Hedera is now at the center of these think tanks, at the center of this kind of where the policymakers are in the UK via the UK CBC. And so what I love about this in particular is that Hedera is the only layer one alongside Ripple that is part of the UK CBC. And when you look at those two parties, you kind of expect Ripple to be there, right? Anywhere there's a lot of policy making going, anything to do with finance, you expect Ripple to be there as that kind of inaugural financial infrastructure within Web3 that was more enterprise focused. They've been around since 2013. They've got a huge amount of capital behind them. And you see them in these places again and again. But to be honest, we haven't really seen much come of that for Ripple yet. So to see Hedera there, which obviously has less time in the market behind it, and because of that, less capital. So to see them there as a smaller name in terms of branding, as Hedera versus Ripple, to have them in there now, I think is a massive testament to what Hedera is achieving on that policy level within the UK in particular. We've seen Nelmini Rubin at the House of Parliament before. We've seen her at some of the major think tanks before. And it seems like all of this work is coming together. And we know, as we've covered before, that the UK wants to become a crypto capital. We know that, some of the biggest, A116Z, their only office outside of the US is in London. They really want to become a hub for it within Europe and lead the EU. And so to have, again, Hedera there at the forefront of UK policy as one of the only L1s, I think is a massive piece of news. And this is the kind of slow burner which we'll see more developments come over time by, the relationships that are formed from that, the introductions to our council, and so on and so forth. So very excited to see Hedera there, and I'm sure we'll learn more, especially about that Arcax and Aberdeen relationship, but, it'll develop over time. So we'll be sure to cover it.
And we're going to go to the other side of the globe. We know there's a lot of stuff going on in Australia. We have Rob talk about it on a fairly regular basis, but we heard something new this week, and that was around a hackathon that's taking place at the university level in Australia. Do you have any more information on that?
Yeah, so 3 of the leading universities in Australia, which is the University of South Australia, the University of Adelaide, I believe that's how you pronounce it, and the University of Southern Queensland, they've come together for a new Hedera-powered hackathon with the Hashgraph Association, within which thousands of students from Australia, Nigeria, India, and Amsterdam will be building Web3 use cases on Hedera as part of this hackathon. And what I love about this is, of course, it's Hedera making more of a brand for itself within Australia. We've got AP Plus, we've got Rob over there championing us over there, championing Hedera for Australia. And so to see them come in again, or rather Hedera awareness being spread at the grassroots level, really, the people that will be building these startups in the future, is really exciting. And the hackathon's focus will actually be on a climate hackathon. Of course, we know that students are very, very environmentally conscious. We know that the Hedera Guardian is the best infrastructure for climate finance within DLT. And so to have that student Hedera Guardian sustainability crossover is very powerful. And to have some of the smartest minds in Australia, young minds in Australia behind that is very exciting. So hats off to the Hashgraph Association for, again, getting a massive, massive hackathon for Hedera.
Yeah, no question about that. Now we're going to swing around to another location. We're going to go to Mexico. In Mexico, in Cancun, we have Kickback 2, Karate Combat Kickback 2. So we have another event coming up that's going to be on Saturday. Now, last week we warned everybody, make sure you get your karate tokens into your Karate Combat app. Some people didn't heed that, and when the snapshot was taken, they weren't in there. They'll make sure to remember next time. But still, right now, voting is open. You can pick the fighters you think are going to win. Usually we do a fair amount of coverage around that. We're not going to do it for this kickback this time. We couldn't get Dane on for this one, but you can certainly go and do some research on some of these fights. You can go to Bet Online AG. Now, until there's actual betting done, you're not going to get good lines on that, but they do have that all set up. You just go under sports, MMA, and then you can find kickback. And as the day goes on, those lines are going to develop. Also, go check out Nick Kalikis. He is on X Fight Odds. He might be putting out some more information on it as well, but those two resources are pretty good for you. Now, Karate Combat is going to be hitting on all cylinders again Saturday night. They're going to have this kickback too. Next month, they're going to be going to Dubai, so that's going to be a huge event. And then the one after that, they're going to be at Consensus, and I'm going to be down there at Consensus as well. Hottest ticket in town for, there's only going to be a few hundred people that are able to actually go in and watch that event live. They are going to have the influencers fighting there as well, so that's going to be huge. But with, 20,000 people that go to Consensus, only having a few hundred seats in there at the actual event, it's going to be a pretty hot ticket. So that's going to be exciting. All right, so we're going to shift gears here a little bit. We're going to get into some Hedera infrastructure and some fun things that are going on around Kabila. It's been a long time coming, too long. We should have had Kabila on a long time ago, but I caught up with Jack. He is the CMO there at Kabila to give us some more information around what they're doing and what they have coming up in the near term. So let's check it out. Jack, welcome. This is way overdue. Thanks for stopping by.
It's a pleasure, Brandon. Thanks for having us on.
Yeah, it's absolutely my pleasure. So, Jack, can you give us a quick rundown of what Kabila is and the services your team offers?
Absolutely, yeah. So Kabila is many things, but the primary focus would be NFTs, right? And covering the whole journey of the creator from setting up a wallet. So we have our non-custodial HBAR wallet, to creating their NFTs, launching them, sharing their NFTs with the community through the launchpad, setting up shop, taking them to market, and also the educational side of what NFTs are. So we have an NFT academy Because let's face it, majority of the population still doesn't quite grasp what an NFT is. So we have these amazing tools, but we need to educate as well. So we're going, hand in hand, the tools on the one side, and if everything you could think of and need as a creator to leverage NFTs for your brand, for your passion, for your community. You need to finance an idea. There's many ways that NFTs can be used. So we're providing the infrastructure for that, but then the education and onboarding is a massive pillar of Kabila as well. So those would be the two sides of the coin that go hand in hand. That are so fundamental.
And I think even the people that do think they understand NFTs, they don't understand what the eventual power of that tool is going to be in the future. So I know that you guys have some exciting things coming up in the near future. Is there anything you'd like to highlight?
Yeah, I'd actually love to highlight that vision of the future as well that you mentioned there briefly. We've coined a term called brand NFTs. As I mentioned, NFTs can be used for many different things, and they're going to infiltrate every industry that we know today. But we are very much focused on online communities and how in Web 2, we've been able to build these amazing communities, with all of the infrastructure and the big tech platforms, but we don't really own them. And Web 3, what it changes in many regards on many levels for many industries is the ownership dynamic. Like us as creators, as communities, as brands, to be able to own our online communities through NFTs. So we see a vision, a future where, all these communities that we've built over the last decade, 10 to 15, 20 years online, we can now own them through this new technology. So that's the vision, and that's the infrastructure we're building to support that vision. Now to your the highlights, the upcoming things, right? So we have NFTs ourselves. Obviously, we can't just provide the tools. We need to walk the talk as well. If we're talking about these communities that we want to own and so forth, and kind of show the way through our learnings as well. It's, we've helped onboard and launch over 200 brands or NFT collections at this point over the past couple of years. And we've been able to do that and help as well because we've been on the same journey ourselves. We're creators at heart, and we have our own NFTs, and they are called, we have our founders card equivalent called Kabila Early Supporters, which would be the initial NFTs, the core community that we had from the very beginning that helped us kickstart this journey. So that would be our most exclusive collection with the most benefits. But then we always seek to expand our community, and that's where the Siwas come in, which is, you could call it our mascot, so in terms that people can understand outside of Web3, we have the Siwas, it's our character, our mascot. The Siwa wants to spread the message of this technology and onboard new people to our community, but also to this new kind of oasis that we feel that we're building in Web3. So the Siwas have been dropping for about a year now. We've had 2 separate mints. And we plan to continue to do batches because we believe that batch minting is a more sustainable way to release NFTs, to increase the demand to increase the supply as the demand grows. So with this next one, we have a very special collaboration with a renowned artist of the ecosystem. Many of you will know him, Hangry, the president. He's also known as the president, Hangry Baboons. It's one of our favorite collections on Hedera. So it really is an honor to collaborate and create a reiteration or evolution, you could say, of the Siwas in his own style. So this will be happening on the 4th of April, 2024. So next month. And we do have, as you said, a lot of ongoing whitelist opportunities. Right now, we've collaborated with many different NFT communities, founders, creators within Hedera and beyond, because we also look to onboard and bring new eyes to Hedera, right, through this release. So we have, a lot of ongoing opportunities to get access to the pre-sale through those whitelists. And the Siwas themselves, apart from being community identifier or being part of the Kabila community, they also come with benefits, such as, perks. When you use our tools, you get certain discounts and benefits. But more importantly, a lot of people have been anticipating our token launch, the KBL token, which will be a utility token within our ecosystem of dApps, the tooling, and so forth. And the Siwas, together with the Kabila early supporters that I mentioned a bit earlier on, they will give you certain allocation, pre-sale allocation to the token. So as Adrian said the other day, this will be the last chance when it comes to Siwas to get that early access to the KBL token, and other benefits such as, staking multipliers and all that fun stuff when it comes to the token when it's actually live. So yeah, we're very excited for this mint, and it's coming very soon.
And Jack, I'm going to get a few of those whitelist spots myself and be able to give away some of those to our audience here. So keep an eye out on my HBAR Bull X handle, and we'll try to get a promotion going this weekend. Is there anything else that we should follow as far as socials to make sure we stay up to date when it comes to Kabila?
Yeah, I mean, I think following the Kabila app account, so that's at Kabila app, Kabila app, with notifications on is always handy. If you're looking to access these giveaways or learn more about the KBL token that's coming very soon, we have our newsletter as well. We have a monthly newsletter. You can find all of the links to these different outlets of information and the tools, Kabila Market and so forth, even the wallet. All of these are in our link tree via Twitter, via X. Still haven't got used to that one. Yeah, you can find a lot of it there. And there's obviously our Discord as well, where a lot of our community lives on a day-to-day basis.
Well, Jack, there's one thing that I've noticed that is the main factor in determining success for teams building in the Hedera network, and that's passion and belief in the Hedera network. And you guys have that in spades. Thank you so much for swinging by today. Thanks for building on Hedera, and good luck.
We love it. Yeah, appreciate the support, Brandon. We're very excited for the future here on Hedera all together building.
So, Zeb, it was great talking to Jack. I actually went on his show a few months ago, and when you find people that are that passionate about promoting Hedera, you've struck gold. So it was great talking to Jack here on my show. We're going to shift gears here a little bit. Again, we're going to get into Hedera gaming because we have Astra Nova coming out with some pretty big news. We haven't heard too much from them to this point. I did have them on at one point, but what did we hear about Astra Nova this week?
Yeah, so Astra Nova have been coming out with a lot of new partnerships over the last couple of weeks, the last few weeks. The biggest one, I think, being that they're part of the Nvidia Inception program. Of course, Nvidia, massive, always in the news at the moment, one of the biggest stocks on the stock market, and they're continuing to get that both mind share but also market share. And so I think anything when Nvidia is associated with it as a partnership, whatever it might be, or part of an Inception program, is a great bit of positive momentum for whichever other company is associated with it. And so Astra Nova are now part of that Inception program. I believe it's a sort of grant program to fuel Astra Nova as a game. But also alongside that, they announced that they're now on the Steam marketplace, on the Steam wishlist. And so Steam is the core platform for computer games. It's where every single major game is, if you're a PC or a Mac gamer. And so to have them on there as well is a testament, that they've gone through that approval process. They've been considered as a team that, Steam are willing to support. And I think that's really exciting there. Astra Nova are, I think, comparable to some of the games on Avalanche. You look at a game like Shrapnel, which has a very flashy trailer. They got some cool in-game assets, but also have that GameFi component. So play Shrapnel on Avalanche, have the Shrap token. They've got some really great looking assets, but they're not out yet. I think the same thing as Astra Nova. They got really beautiful assets so far. The trailers look great, and they've also got their RVV token, which is launching soon. But also, the support of teams like Nvidia. That's kind of we can make comparisons there, and hopefully, they'll get the same sort of traction. And then if they do get that traction, that kind of attention will trickle into the other aspects of our ecosystem, looking at Earthlings, looking at Lethos, looking at some of the other teams like Legends of the Past and so on. So I really hope that they continue to pump out this great news. They have a successful token launch, and then that sort of trickles into the rest of the ecosystem. So definitely one that I'm going to continue watching.
So Zep, real quick, have you heard anything about when they might actually be coming to the market with their game where people will be able to actually get involved?
I know that the demo is the closest thing on the horizon, and I believe you'll be able to access that through the Steam store. Of course, the first place you'll be able to find out about that will be in their Discord, but also on their Twitter. So I haven't got any particular dates, but I do know that demo is coming. So yeah, anyone that's interested, I'd suggest following Astra Nova on Twitter.
And you mentioned Earthlings there a second ago. Now, we're not going to be talking about the gaming part of Earthlings, but what they did to engage with the community with the airdrops. Now, we've talked about HBAR weighted airdrops in the past, but we've never actually talked to the teams that are initiating this. And I caught up with both Patrick and Warlock from the two different teams that are pioneering this new way of engaging with community. So let's check that one out. All right, so I've talked a fair amount on my show about HBAR weighted airdrops. I actually had a Twitter space with these guys where we talked about it there, but I wanted to get their take for the rest of my audience. So, Patrick, Warlock, welcome. Patrick, I'm going to start with you. You were the first to use the concept of an HBAR weighted airdrop. First of all, why did you do it, and how has that gone so far?
Well, there's more than one reason to do it, obviously. So the idea grew out of supporting HBAR holders, and Joey actually liked it for growing the community. And when we spoke to you about it, you, of course, from your point of view, you liked it from the marketing point of wanting to get people to see the value of holding HBAR. From my point of view, I just like both of them. So it grew our community immensely. We now have 25 more Twitter followers, X followers now, and a couple of hundred more Discord followers. And we even got a lot of exposure outside Hedera. That's of course what we want overall. So a little over 32,000 wallets even associated. And if you look at the results from a marketing point of view for a project, so for a selfish point of view, yeah, it grew us immensely. So with this promotion, you're helping Hedera to grow, but it's also something that's rewarding for your own project. So I don't see it any other way than a win-win promotion. Last little thing I say about it, because we had a big promotion with Hashpack a few months ago with the backpacks, and even the growth that we experienced then almost compels to the growth that we've experienced now. So to that regard, some people will say, yeah, you're spending a lot of tokens on that to grow the community. Aren't you afraid that it's going to do something to draw the price down? Well, I see it differently. I think if you wanted to grow your community by paying for marketing, I think you could get less, or it's kind of organic growth. You get less growth than you would do with this promotion. And meanwhile, you're rewarding the HBAR community. So I think it's a win-win on all sides, actually.
So now you've done one airdrop already of PH Steam, and of course you're going to be able to swap that into Steam a little bit later on. You're going to be doing another one here before too long, and there's going to be 4 airdrops in total. And for each one of those, you have to do a snapshot. Can you give us a ballpark of when that next snapshot for the next allocation is going to be?
Well, that's a surprise question because that's more something for the marketing team. But the second drop already happened, actually, if I'm not mistaken. So let me check that again.
Okay, no, that's fair.
I'm not the market, but I think it did already. So, but you can still join, because the only thing you have to do is associate the 3 tokens that we had on our social media channel. So now there's a lot of items on X about the IDO and the INO that we are running now. So scroll back down a little bit, and then you'll see all the info on that. But the third and I do know that the second snapshot has been taken, and I'm quite sure actually that it's also dropped, because I answered someone on the amount of Steam they got. So the third and the fourth are still coming, but it's really a busy week for us with everything happening now.
Yeah.
So forgive me if I mix up sometimes.
No problem at all. And so far, there's been 5 million Steam, I guess, that have been allocated. There's another 10 million to come, because it's going to be 15 million total. But let's move over to Warlock. It sounds like Grelf has decided to participate in his own HBAR weighted airdrop. Now, I'm surprised that he knew how to execute something like this, but what were his motivations?
Well, our lovely bald boy, he doesn't understand anything that's going on. Luckily, there's smarter people taking care of it. I have a dev friend who's helping me. We weren't sure if we were going to be able to figure out how to do it, but everything's working. We did a test a little while ago. So it's going to be real simple. Essentially, we're giving out $10,000 worth of Grelf, whatever that happens to be. So let's try to keep it over $1. Okay, folks? Please. Whatever that happens to be on actually Gerbert the Grelf's birthday, the day that the character was created. He was created before the coin. So April 2nd is when the drop will go out. if you want to make sure, because we're going to do the snapshot right before the drop. So if you want to make sure you get it April 1st, that's not a joke. It's not an April Fool's joke. Make sure you associate the token by April 1st. You can find the token. It's in Hashpack. It's one of the default tokens if you go to the token list, or you can check out my airdrop post. I'll have more videos and stuff celebrating both Gerbert's birthday and the airdrop coming soon, so look out for those. But I'm really excited about it. I think it's a great idea. We did an airdrop at the very, very beginning of Grelf's life where no one cared about him. We gave everybody who associated 66 Grelf, which is now worth over $66. And it's funny because when it was worth fractions of a cent, everybody was selling that 66 Grelf and making bot accounts, as we've talked about, to accumulate it. And we had to stop the airdrop early because we just saw like one guy making 1 billion accounts for the Grelf. Luckily, that guy sold most of it because Grelf was doing nothing for like 6 months, popped off, went back down for like another 6 months, popped off again, cycles. I'm really excited to reward HBAR holders. Also, another facet of it is I'm excited to get some people who mostly hold HBAR to learn about Grelf, to learn about me, to learn about my project, what makes me different. There's a lot of negative press about meme coins, and honestly, a lot of that is deserved, but I try to do things differently, transparently. So I think it's all around a great idea. Let's just keep it above $1, so I'm not giving out massive amounts of it.
Well, that is one thing. People have to respect these airdrops, these HBAR weighted airdrops, if they want them to continue. You guys are the pioneers in trying this to support the HBAR holders. So the HBAR holders, at least from my point of view, need to support you guys. And the way I'm going to personally do that is if I get any of these HBAR weighted airdrops and I promote any of these things, I'm going to add to that position after it gets dropped. So if I'm getting however many Grelf, I'm going to add 10, 20, 25% to that position as a thank you to you guys. I'm also going to try to do things like we have veMOUTH, who's also a token issuer out there. I'm doing a promotion right now for Grelf and his HBAR weighted airdrop. I'm going to do one for Earthlings a little bit later on. And the hopes is if we get any winnings from that, I'm going to pass it off to your team so you guys can use that for buying Grelf back for future HBAR weighted airdrops. But again, we need to respect these because we want them to keep coming. It's not just good for your projects. It's good for the entire Hedera ecosystem because we know how dependent this entire ecosystem is on the HBAR holders and the HBAR itself. So we really thank you guys. It's pretty simple. You've both run through for the Earthlings one. You just have to go into your account and associate 3 tokens. For Grelf, it's even easier. You just have to associate that 1 token and then have at least 1 HBAR in your wallet, and then you're good to go. Obviously, the more HBAR you have, the better. But is there any other details, Warlock, that you'd like to pass on about your drop?
Yeah, it's going to go out April 2nd. Make sure you do it by April 1st. It's really that simple. Just associate the token and we'll get you.
There you go. So what would you guys say to a token issuer or a token issuer team that's considering this kind of strategy? Patrick, we'll start with you.
Yeah, first of all, it's not that difficult as people think because, well, if the wallet team can figure it out, no disrespect meant here, but still, if you find some issues, reach out to us and we'll hook you up with Jorgo, and Jorgo can help you there too. But on the other side, I know that Kabila is working on a tool for this as well. So yeah, it's even easier if they got it all figured out. So if there's any reason why you wouldn't do it through Kabila, then contact us and we can, we'll just copy paste the script almost to you. but I prefer going through Kabila because they've got a great team and it's all very easy to set up there. I know they're working on it. So there's no reason not to do it. I think it's a win-win situation. Grow your community and also grow the HBAR community. So that's all I have to say about it.
And there's no reason why you can't just dip a toe in. We're not talking about, huge percentages of whatever your token table is. It can be, 0.1% just to dip your toe in and, maybe multiple drops working your way up to maybe 1% or something along those lines. And we can make a huge difference doing that. Of course, I can understand hesitancy, but just getting started with something small, see how it goes, see what kind of support you get from the ecosystem, and then you can go from there. But Warlock, same question. Any teams that are considering potentially doing this, what would your advice be?
So yeah, the main thing is the best time to do it obviously is before you launch your token. And something that I've noticed a lot with new token creators is they are not thinking super hard about how much supply they're allocating into the initial liquidity pool when they make it. They're not really going very deep into how they're moving stuff around. And one thing that I regret with Grelf, because I just made it as a joke, I didn't really care about whatever. I was just like, oh, this arbitrary amount. At this point, you shouldn't do that. You should really think about the percentages you're allocating to stuff. So yeah, not a huge amount of supply, but enough that people will care, right? So don't do fractions of a percent. At least a few basis points. Like, come on. But yeah, doing it before your launch is smart, because when you're early on, you can take a lot of heat as far as sells. Like, there's room to grow. It's not going to completely kill you. It's just being smart about seeing what you can handle. Luckily, Grelf has a lot of liquidity, so like a 10K sell is not going to be that big of a deal. It'll be something, but I don't anticipate every single person who's getting some of the airdrops selling, especially because we're targeting people who are holding large amounts of money. They've already been holding that much HBAR for this long. So I don't anticipate having as much of a problem as the people who are farming it. So I think it's a great idea. I think anything that encourages kind of more cohesion between the two camps in our ecosystem who are, I just care about HBAR, I just care about utility, and I think HTS is exciting. Any kind of way to like bring these two groups together is really exciting for me.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that I think about around meme coins is you're paying some money to get skin in the game, to participate in that community. And of course, your community and you yourself create all kinds of really cool memes and neat stuff that's just entertaining around Grelf. And the only way that's really going to be exciting is if you have a little bit of skin in the game. So this is going to be a way for all those HBAR holders to get a little bit of exposure, to then maybe understand a little bit more about just what's going on in that meme culture, because obviously it's completely blowing up. But guys, I appreciate all the efforts you've put into this so far. I also appreciate you shouting out Kabila, because they're creating some tools around this and they will help you through this process if you want to do it. Now, I know that was the backup plan. Of course, the Warlock and Grelf team were able to figure this out on their own. But if anybody does need some assistance, Kabila is the way to go. Again, thank you guys so much. And we appreciate you coming on.
Thank you.
Thank you a lot.
So, Zep, talking about Earthlings, they had a really successful INO this past week. That's an initial NFT offering that was associated with their token. We actually had two. We had the Earthlings INO and we had the Hashpack INO last Sunday. Both of them were insanely successful in how fast they sold out. Now, there were some challenges. I do want to make one thing very clear, that the challenges had nothing to do with the Hedera network itself. Its base layer services can handle whatever scale these kind of launches have. There were some challenges around the mirror nodes, and there were some lessons learned around that. And I don't think we're going to have as many problems in the future with these kind of things. But this brings me to another aspect of how you can engage with the Hedera community to be successful. Again, these two INO launches were sold out in blistering time. I think the Earthlings one was like 5 minutes. It was really insane. And then the other one was like 20 minutes. And if we didn't have some of those mirror node issues, it would have been even faster. And when you see these teams that are successful in doing these kind of launches compared to the ones that might be a little bit more challenged, we see teams that have built up a relationship with the community over many, many months or years. They engage with the community on a regular basis when it comes to social media, on X Spaces, and everything else. I think this is the path to success if you want to have success with the Hedera community. You have to put the time in, not just show up on a couple interviews, not just show up in a couple spaces, but do it on a consistent basis and really believe in the potential for the network. And if that comes through, you'll resonate with the Hedera community and they'll support you. So I just wanted to highlight that. I know we're going to have a lot more INOs coming out in the future, but these two were really successful. All right, so we were just talking about airdrops, and I wanted to shift gears on that a little bit. We're still going to talk about airdrops, but we're going to talk about the improvement system for Hedera. So the Hedera improvement proposal system. And I caught up with Ed. He's from Swirlds Labs. He's going to explain one around airdrops and give you some more information around what they're doing in developer relations for Hedera. Ed, welcome back. Thanks for stopping by.
Thank you for having me, Brandon. Happy to be here.
Well, it's my pleasure. Now, Ed, there's a new HIP, a Hedera improvement proposal that's aimed at making airdrops easier and more seamless. So what are the issues with how airdrops are currently done on Hedera, and how will this HIP, if adopted and implemented, of course, how will that address those issues?
That is correct. So this HIP that is being proposed is all about making token airdrops frictionless and more compatible with very unique capabilities that we have on Hedera. And one example of those capabilities are token associations, right? So it's just all about removing frictions with those token association capabilities. So when we think about the way airdrops are done today and how unique Hedera is, there's no spamming problem, spam tokens on Hedera, because owners of accounts opt in to receive those tokens. Now, we also have users where they want to receive tokens more smoothly in a more frictionless manner. And so how do we get around the issue of association? Well, we also have this capability of automatic associations where people can say, hey, I have a slot where I can receive any token. But we can go a step further and make those airdrops more frictionless. So to give you an example of what the HIP enables, it allows for more control of that airdrop process. So it introduces new transaction types, airdrop transaction types, where the receiver, if they're not associated with a token, that transaction goes into a pending state. Therefore, the receiver can then reject or accept that token, even if they're not associated with it. And it also changes some details around the fee structure. So if an association happens, then the sender would be paying for that fee. Now, for those details around how the fee structure changes or who pays the fee, I would suggest taking a look at the HIP that is being proposed. And then the other component that is great about this HIP is that as a sender of the airdrop, I have control, because if that token goes into a pending state, then I can, after a certain time or at my discretion, I can choose to recall that token if it's not associated, right? So you can leave it pending or you can call it back. So it's just about more convenience and about more granular control during this airdrop process. One thing that I want to go back to is the importance of having this ability to opt in and associate with given tokens, right? In some cases, this could represent a security risk if you start getting a lot of spam tokens that could have some security implications. And then for other people and maybe institutions, this could also be a financial risk, where if you get a spam token that somehow ends up having a lot of value, this could impact the way you do taxes based on where you might be. And so those are very important considerations when we think about why we have these token associations in place, why we provide the flexibility to do automatic associations, and why we want to make this airdrop process more smooth over the long run.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. A quick follow-up. So, of course, this would have to be adopted and implemented, as I mentioned, on the Hedera network, but there would be implications for wallets as well. So before any of these features could really be used by users, the wallets would have to integrate and add those features as well, right?
That is correct. And that is true for both the wallets and perhaps the NFT launchpads that facilitate some of these airdrops happening. So as the HIP gets adopted, we'll probably have to create some enablement materials to help these developers and these applications understand the features, all the intricacies, and how to use them in their applications. But that is absolutely correct. It needs to be applied and implemented at the application level first, and then it's something that is going to facilitate the adoption by end users.
Makes perfect sense. All right. So what are some of the interesting ways you see airdrops being used now? And what do you think the future holds for this ability on Hedera?
Yeah, I think I'll revert back to that auto association feature, right? It makes airdrops very easy, where users can opt in to any token that wants to be sent to a given account. But I do see airdrops as a key to drive adoption and engagement with communities, right? Whether you're launching a fungible token or a non-fungible token, it's very hard to drive the adoption if you're not being active with that community, bringing everybody in and making it easy for those people to have your token. So, we've seen very recently some great airdrops. happening. I know Kabila has a launchpad that has facilitated many of those with NFTs. I know Hashpack recently performed also an INO, which is also great to see. And with this HIP being implemented in the future, I think airdrops are going to be much more easy to do, very smooth and very frictionless. So I think the future looks bright for airdrops on the Hedera network.
Exciting stuff. All right, so I know that, of course, you're working with Swirlds Labs with all kinds of different developers in our space. Is there anything else you'd like to pass on to the Hedera community or the developer community before we let you go?
I would love for people to join us on our developer Discord. So you can just go to hedera.com/Discord and also follow us on Twitter. If you look for the account Hedera for Developers, that's an authenticated account. So feel free to join us there. And we're constantly putting out tips, helpful information, announcements that are relevant for developers. So you can be part of these conversations as well.
Well, Ed, thanks again for stopping by. And thanks for all the hard work you and your team do over there at Swirlds Labs.
My pleasure, Brandon. Thank you so much.
All right, Zeb. So again, it's good to see our developer relations at Swirlds Labs engaging and making sure that that Hedera improvement process is moving forward and we're improving this network that we have. So the next thing we want to touch on is Mingo. We hear about Mingo on a fairly regular basis, but they're doing something that we've heard an awful lot about, and that's ticketing with NFTs. What have you heard on that?
Yeah, so they've now launched their iOS app, which includes NFT ticketing via the Mingo app. And so they've launched the first set of tickets for an event with a fighter called Ryan Curtis, and it's based in Ireland, and every single one of the tickets for this event has been sold as an NFT. Excited to see Mingo there now with, that launch, and, they've been around for a while, so it's great to see them bring that product to market. And I'm excited to see them continue in that ticketing space, particularly in the fighting scene. As we know, they've got that relationship with Tyson Fury, so there could be, some big events down the line in which Mingo is used as a ticketing app.
Yeah, no question about that. One of the other things that I thought was cool was we've seen people, move from Swirlds Labs and do other things. A great example, we've seen that with Sammy with Blade Labs. He moved over from Swirlds over to Blade and started his own company. We're seeing something similar right now with Brady, who was at Swirlds Labs. He just left recently, but he's just started Bonzo Finance. So that was really good to see. What did you see come out around that?
Yeah, so Bonzo Finance, under the leadership of Brady, is a new lending and borrowing protocol on Hedera. And so they're working closely with Supra Labs, which is one of the new oracles on Hedera alongside Pyth. And through Bonzo and the team and Brady, they've now integrated price feeds for new HTS assets, those being HBAR, HBARX, Source, Dovu, Jam, Galaxy, Heli, HST, and XSource. So it looks like they're really sort of stepping up, those HTS integrations. And I know that having Brady at the helm of a new lending protocol, I think is, very good news for Hedera. And of course, great to see him back in the ecosystem.
Yeah, no question about that. We're going to shift gears here a little bit into our transparent governance. We're going to get into some meeting minutes that were just released. So let's check that out. So these meeting minutes are for the meeting of February 14th. It had pretty good attendance. I know we've noticed a lack of attendance at certain points, but this one had some good attendance. There were no significant details, but CoinCom under Dr. Baird is looking closely at node and staking rewards, which is constructive. Rob's CorpCom also had some goals, including to compose and maintain a corporate utilization dashboard, which will include corporate network utilization metrics. And CorpCom also suggested solutions to adoption inhibitors, including maintaining a business requirements register of new product features and business requirements, and holding a showcase of events to demonstrate enterprise solutions built on Hedera to council members and invited guests. CorpCom also presented suggested changes to its charter to accurately reflect the scope of responsibilities it plans to undertake in 2024. The membership committee are focused on continuing to recruit new high-quality council members, continuously improving engagement among existing council members, and proposed a new program to engage with organizations that are interested in working with Hedera but do not qualify for council membership. So it was good to see those meetings come out, and with that, we'll get into some network analysis. So it looks like our largest transaction producer, Atma.io, dropped off for a little while this week, but it came back and we're back producing 1,300 transactions per second with a peak of about 4,000 TPS this week. Time to consensus is still at 3.4 seconds, and we created a little bit more than 60,000 accounts this past week. Looking at our fungible tokens, Wrapped HBAR, Karate, and Unlucky take the top 3 most active tokens, followed by Sauce, USDC, Dovu, and Grelf. I still don't have much information on Islas Canarias, which we found out last week. You let me know, Zep, that it means Canary Islands. So if you know anything about that one, please let us know. The one that doesn't have a name is Hedera Heatwave, and the top 10 is rounded out by Energy Trade Token. For our NFTs, the Road Code Access Card took the top spot, followed by the Hashpack INO collection. Next up, we have the Saucer Swap Liquidity Token, and another one I haven't seen in sub 100K. Then we have Not a Slime World, the Earthlings Bag Holder, a couple of the Lithos Rant CPU NFTs, the Doctor Who Worlds Apart NFT, and the Times WTF. All right, Zeb, we had a space this week where we talked to the teams that are building around Hashinals, and Hashinals are a little bit different than our normal NFTs. Normal NFTs, they just point a hash to where the file is stored. In these cases, the Hashinals, the entire data for the NFT file is stored all on chain. But there was some more information that came out around that this week. What do you have for us?
Yeah, so Hgraphpunks, which are one of the first sort of largest NFT projects on Hedera, created by Patches, who needs no introduction, the man behind Hashinals alongside Cantor. They have launched the first Hgraphpunks Hashinals NFT/inscriptions collection. And so they've done this with Hangry Barboons, who are another big team. They've also done this with VCZ, who are another big team on Hedera. So they've got 72 hours to mint. I think there's about 48 hours left, probably at the time of this upload. So if you are part of that whitelist, you can get access. If not, unfortunately, I'm not part of that whitelist. So I'll be looking to snipe on Centex when they move over to there. But all of that is to say, Hashinals, this is one of the first big NFT projects on there from one of our leading teams. So no doubt one to be excited about.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting to watch. And with that, we'll go ahead and get into some DeFi. Taking a look at DeFi Llama, the total value locked in the Hedera DeFi ecosystem is at $119 million. On DeFi Llama, Saucer Swap makes up almost all of that, pushing $117 million. But HBAR Suite adds just under $6 million to that total as well. Instead of showing the V2 returns on Saucer Swap as what you receive with the normal settings, they are now reporting them as the full range depending on where you set your limits, which makes coverage pretty much pointless since it's such a broad range. But I do want to say that we had some big news for Saucer Swap this week. In association with the Ichi Foundation, Saucer Swap is introducing auto pools. I'm going to work with the teams to try to get some more information on the impact of this new feature. Taking a look at the HBAR and crypto markets, most of the crypto space was under pressure this week, with Bitcoin off 6.5% on the week and 2.5% on the day. Ethereum was down 3% on the day and 9% on the week. Similarly, HBAR was down 8.9% on the week and 2.9% on the day, to about 10.6 cents at the time of recording. I was encouraged by the 10-cent support level, though. Now, this is the 4-hour chart, and you can see that we only went through the 10-cent level with Wix. The same is true on the 1-hour chart, indicating that 10 cents is a strong area of support. If we can outperform Bitcoin just a little, the 10-cent level may start to align with the $60,000 level for Bitcoin, making that level that much stronger. It looks like 11.3 cents is setting up as an area of resistance, so if we move back up, we won't worry about higher targets until we breach that level. But if we do, 12 and 14 cents are going to be the levels I keep an eye on. All right, Zep, that's pretty much all we have. Is there anything else you'd like to pass on?
I think the most exciting thing for me this week was Hedera joining the UK Crypto Asset Business Council. We've seen the leading financial institutions in America have their fingers in multiple L1s, with the likes of Solana and Polygon and Avalanche and Hedera and Ethereum. But in the UK, we haven't really seen that kind of, that growth for other networks, right? And we haven't seen the financial institutions or the banks move on to ledgers in the same way that we've seen them do with Hedera. We've seen Arcax, the first regulated digital asset exchange with Hedera. Of course, you've got Aberdeen, the largest active wealth manager. We've got the UK universities on board. I really think Hedera is very well positioned, even further now because of this announcement, to really make a really strong foothold within the UK. And I'm particularly excited for that. I know that Nilmini's been pioneering policy for us over there as well. So I think this is a position or rather a chance for Hedera to really front run sort of the UK in terms of digital assets, and this seems like another piece in that puzzle. So very excited because I'm from the UK, obviously, but also very excited to know that Hedera is a big part of that emerging crypto story there.
It reminded me of the blockchain for energy that we talked about last week. Of course, that's a massive consortium that Hedera was the only L1. In this case, we have two L1s as part of that council. So it's good to see those kind of things. I want to remind everybody, make sure you participate in Up Only Gaming if you do have any Karate Combat, a token in your wallet. That's going to be a fun one to watch this weekend. It's going to be Saturday. I know the past couple events were on Fridays, but this one is on Saturday. Next week, I'm going to catch up with Legends of the Past. So we're going to figure that one out. We're also going to have another space, but I'm not exactly sure. I'm going back and forth on a couple different topics. We aren't going to have Shark Bites next week. We're still trying to figure out. Rob is on a trip right now. He's out to sea. So we're not exactly sure when we're going to get that started again, but we're going to make sure we get plenty of content for you. Make sure you engage with Grelf. Make sure you associate his token. And if you have any veMOUTH, send it to this account to support them for supporting the HBAR holders out there. That's all we have. We'll see you next week.
Hey everybody, Gerbert the Grelf here. Did you know my birthday is coming up? Yeah, it's on April 2nd. Don't worry about getting me nothing though. Actually, I'm planning to give you guys a gift. The team behind the Grelf token is doing an HBAR weighted airdrop of $10,000 worth of Grelf. Pretty surprising, huh? Who knew there was a team behind Grelf? Anyways, all you gotta do to participate is hold some HBAR in your wallet and associate the Grelf token ID before the airdrop goes out on April 2nd. That's it. The more HBAR you hold, the larger the share of Grelf you'll get. I figure it's time to give back to the people that support the network I love so much. So, a big thank you to the HBAR holders out there for your continued belief in Hedera. And I hope you're looking forward to the HBAR weighted Grelf airdrop.